Hey, so this is going to be a new type of video that I'm going to start trying to release is when I'm changing something that's being done in the class. This is me talking to parents and talking to students to kind of explain this is what I'm seeing and this is where I'm trying to take the course, just to kind of keep the avenues of communication open. One of the things that I have been seeing, and the students have gotten better about this, is like notes grades. The notes grades, the kids are getting better at how to take notes. Typically what I've done as a teacher is I just write on the pages. I say, hey, this is incomplete, hey, this is incomplete, something like that where they can go back and they can find it. The problem I've been noticing this year is the students have been either not keeping track of these things or they don't know what incomplete means. So what I'm going to be doing is I've sketched up a little thing that I've been attaching to the tops of them. I've got one right here, and I've been quite literally stapling it to the corner. Let me cover up the kid's name so you can't see it. I just staple it to the corner, and what it is it's a grading sheet. So I can say, hey, this one's complete, these are incomplete, and then I give them a score out of whatever the max score is. And then you'll notice at the bottom, I put a note at how they can make up or retake or resubmit for late credit. This particular one, like with notes, historically, I've had a big issue with notes, taking them late. I don't mind taking them late. Like if a student needs an extra few days, like that's not a really big deal. What I've noticed as a teacher is if I give them too much free time to turn things in late, it ceases to become something where they go back and finish the notes, and it becomes more of a, let me copy down as much as I can for my neighbor, which defeats the purpose of taking notes. If they're just blindly copying and they're not absorbing any of that information, what's the point? So I tend to put a small time window on it. So with this, anytime I hand back the assignment, I put on the bottom, it says, hey, make sure these notes are finished by the end of the week and I'll take them back for partial credit. After the end of the week, I don't take them anymore. That gives them a short window to say, hey, I screwed up on this, this, and this. Let me go fix it, without giving them something where they know they can go do it later on. And then everything's always done in the last week of the 9 weeks. So they're stressed out. I'm stressed out. You're stressed out. Nobody's happy when that comes around because inevitably they're going to turn it in 2 days before the quarter ends. They're going to want to grade back immediately. It's going to take me, because I have 150 students all doing the same thing on multiple assignments. It's going to take me like 2 or 3 weeks to get to it unless I stay with long hours after school, of which nobody wants to do. And so what I've done is I've said, hey, here we go. You have 1 week to get it finished, updated, and turned back in. I'll take any assignment that you've done incomplete for half credit. So the way that I've been grading it, and this is also me communicating to parents and to students, if you're like, I don't know how he grades, or they don't explain how I grade very well, is I'll take a kid, let's say they completed, it's 4 sets of notes. They complete the first 2, the second one they're missing a few problems at the end, and the last section is just completely missing. I'll mark them down like that. First 2 are complete, third one's incomplete, the last one's missing. So what they'll do is they'll get a score of 10 out of 20. They get 50% because 50% were complete. They can then take that week to go finish everything, and the goal is to take what's incomplete and complete it, what is missing and complete it. And I'll turn it in by the end of the week, and I'll give them half credit on anything that they didn't originally do. This will also help me figure out what in the heck they were missing originally, because I get a lot of students where they'll look in their notes and they're like, well, this looks done. Let me just turn it back in. And then I'm sifting through and I'm like, am I missing something here? Like, is there another page that I didn't get? Maybe they dropped something, because it looks like they just turned in the same assignment with nothing done. And I'd like to avoid that, because then they get frustrated. It's like, well, I thought I turned it in. Wasn't the grade supposed to be updated? I'm like, well, no, you didn't actually do anything. And then furthermore, this is how I grade. What I do is I take a picture of our board every time I'm about to erase the board. I'll take a picture, then erase it. Take a picture, then erase it. I'm looking at, when I'm grading, you can see up here at the top, the first day we had 12. Yeah, it was 12 questions. The second section had 4. The third section had 14, and the last section had 8. That's how many examples we went through as a class. Some have more, some have less. So as I'm sifting through their notes, the first thing I'm doing is I'm saying, okay, I'm looking at the actual introduction here, and I'm saying, okay, I have a picture of the introduction. I'm like, that looks about the same. I'm not gonna like read word for word. If they miss a few words, That's fine. Now, I should be able to read it. If it's something where their handwriting is so ungodly bad that I can't read what's going on, then the notes, for the sake of taking notes, aren't worthwhile. So I'm gonna be like, hey, incomplete, I can't read the notes. But mostly what I'm looking at, because the kids are really good about that. There's a few that we're struggling, but they're struggling on that every day. Mostly I'm like, okay, I see 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, there's 12 questions. First section's done. Second section, like on this one in particular, they wrote down the introduction, they didn't do any work. So, incomplete. They started it, didn't write down any work, incomplete. And then the third section I'm looking through, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And they stop at 6. So that's the last question. There were actually 8 on here. The last 2 were graphs. So I marked that also as incomplete, which, yeah, is what I did on the students. So I marked down those, all 3 of them, whether they did a little bit or whether they did a lot of it, incomplete. They need to go back and fix that. Now, on future iterations of this, I think I'm going to put how many questions that I'm looking for, because that is confusing to them, where I'm like, hey, this is how many questions I'm looking for. Now, they have a couple ways they can do this. They can either come on the YouTube videos and they can watch the video and figure out what did they not get. Maybe their class ended early, where that class specifically didn't get to cover the last 2 questions, okay? Well, they're still responsible for finishing the last 2 questions because they were written on the board. If they need help with the video, they watch the video, they get them done. Or they can copy them down from a classmate. With notes, I never have an issue with them copying notes. That's another big thing that I wanted to talk about is topic 2. What can they copy and what can they not copy? They can copy down notes because they're notes, they're guides. They can copy down bell ringers because bell ringers are them practicing penmanship, and it's basically a vocab. They write down one vocab definition. What else did I say they can copy? They can copy down bell ringers. They can copy down notes. They can copy down like flashcards and definitions and stuff like that. They can't copy down homework. Homework is never meant to be copied. That's meant to be you participating in things. But I think this should really help out with seeing how I'm grading and seeing what I'm looking for. And again, at the very, very bottom, it says, hey, if anything's missing or complete, turn it in by this Friday, by the end of the week, and I'll take it for partial credit. I do the same thing with flashcards. The flashcards mostly, because I'm trying to grade these quickly, is I hand them back, and as I say this in class, I say, hey, guys, if you're getting back your flashcards, and I hand them back, let's assume that this is a stack of flashcards, and I'm like, hey, if I'm giving this back to you and there's nothing written on it, that means you got a 100%. Good job. Historically, what I've done is I've handed them back and I've handwritten notes and I said, hey, you only turned in 10 out of 20. You got to go back and do the other 10. Hey, I can't read any of these definitions. This was really, really poorly written down. Or, these are crumpled up. Whatever the reason is. Normally they're not big reasons. It's just the kid was either trying to go too fast or you can tell they didn't care. So what I've been doing is I've been sliding these in. Again, it's basically a little guide. I'll slip it into, because they have a rubber band. So when they turn in their note cards, they either have a rubber band or a paper clip. I'll slide this in and it basically says, hey, I'll hand these back. It has incomplete. And I tell them, I'm like, it's either because there weren't 20 words with a word and a definition. Sometimes they turn in blank cards or they don't write down the definitions and hope I don't notice. I typically do notice. It has to be legible. If I'm looking at the flashcards and again, I'm like, what does this say? That means the student's just trying to cram this down as quickly as possible. Defeats the purpose of a flashcard. No scribbles or crossing out. Again, we're looking at just writing down the definition nice and neat. If you're having to cross out half the definition, just do a new card. It's one card. Or the full definitions. I have this with a lot of them where they'll try and take like an actual definition and shorten it into like 2 words, like standard form, fully simple. I don't know what that means. If I were to read you on a flashcard and say, what is fully simple? You'd be like, I don't know what the heck that is. So I'll slip that in there and it has instructions again. It says, please complete and resubmit for half credit. I do need to put like a submit it by this time on there. Again, I'm working with these things, seeing if this helps. As a parent, if you are getting these and you're like, oh, this is really helpful because I know what's going on. Let me know. As a student, if you're like, okay, this really helps clear up a lot of the communication, let me know because this is something I've never done before. I am having to actually go through and staple it to each kid's assignment, which means my TAs are about to get, a lot more work. Or I might even just have the kids attach it themselves. The problem is they're really bad at stapling. I know it sounds really bad, but they're really bad at stapling things together. We actually have to go through that as a class and teach them how to staple things neatly where I can still see all the work and you can still get all the credit. But let me know if you like this, if you have any suggestions on how to make something nice and quick and easy and simple to grade, because I'm looking at improving the communication from me to them, because I can tell them this, and I've told them how I grade. I've shown them how I've graded 100 times. Are they going to remember it? Probably not. In fact, most of them don't. So just let me know what's working for you and what's not working for you. Until then, we're starting chapter 4 tomorrow. We just finished our flashcards for chapter 4. So they should have a picture. I had them all take a picture of the list before they left. And they'll be taking a quiz on that in about 2 weeks on the 17th. So see you tomorrow for chapter 4.